The hall was silent except for the soft hum of the strange device placed on the center table. It looked small, almost harmless, a round metallic sphere with glowing lines moving across its surface. The alien engineers had promised that this device could erase all barriers between their language and human speech. One touch, they said, and every word would be clear, every thought easy to share. The human representative leaned forward with curiosity, his hand brushing the cool surface. Across from him, the alien girl, chosen to be the first speaker, stared with bright golden eyes that carried both pride and nervousness. Everyone in the room waited. This was more than a test. It was history. The human cleared his throat, speaking in a calm, careful voice. "Hello, I come in peace." His words were simple, but the device glowed brighter, processing the sounds. A soft mechanical tone echoed. Then the alien girl heard the words in her own language. For a moment, her face relaxed. She gave a small nod. The first attempt had worked, and tension in the hall eased. Murmurs spread among the observers. Maybe the device was as perfect as promised. But then, as she prepared to respond, the first crack appeared. She spoke in her soft alien tongue, a phrase that meant, "I acknowledge your greeting, human." The device whirred, lights flickering. Then the human's eyes widened as he heard in English, "I accept your challenge, human." Confusion rippled through him, and he blinked. The alien girl tilted her head, not realizing the error. To the human, it sounded like she had just declared some kind of fight. He hesitated, unsure if it was a test of strength or a mistake. He smiled nervously, but the silence in the room grew heavier. The observers whispered to one another, some aliens leaning forward in excitement. Challenge? Did the alien girl really say that? Humans were known to be bold, but a direct challenge in the very first meeting was unthinkable. The girl noticed their reaction and frowned. She repeated her words, slower this time. The device glitched again, this time saying, "I claim you, human." The human's mouth opened in shock. His pulse quickened. Around the table, the aliens gasped. Some even chuckled in disbelief. The girl's golden eyes narrowed. She could feel that something was wrong, but she did not know what. The human raised his hand quickly. "Wait, something's not right. That's not what she meant, is it?" His voice trembled slightly, caught between fear and embarrassment. He looked at the engineers at the edge of the room, who were suddenly busy tapping at their control screens, faces pale. The alien girl demanded an explanation, speaking fast, her voice sharper now. The device translated her words into, "Stop resisting. You belong to me now." The room erupted in chaos. Gasps, laughter, and shocked cries filled the hall. Elders rose from their seats arguing. Some believed the human had unknowingly accepted a ritual binding. Others whispered that the device had revealed the alien girl's true intentions. The human held his hands up, panicking, sweat beading on his forehead. "No, that's not what I said. That's not what she said either." But his voice was lost in the storm of misunderstanding. The alien girl's face flushed dark with anger and shame. She slammed her hand on the table and stood tall, her voice ringing with authority. The device, struggling, twisted her words again. "I offer him my body." The entire hall froze. The human's heart nearly stopped. His mouth went dry, his hands shaking. The alien girl, not knowing what was being said in English, stared back at the crowd of elders who suddenly looked at her with wide eyes. She could sense something was wrong, but had no idea how bad it had become. The engineers rushed forward, trying to grab the device. Sparks jumped from its glowing seams. "It's overheating," one of them shouted. The human backed away as the light grew brighter, casting strange shadows on the walls. The alien girl's expression shifted from anger to confusion, then to fear. Her eyes met his, as if searching for some kind of truth in his face. He whispered under his breath, "This is going very wrong." The device gave one last loud hum and flickered violently before settling down again. A new translation spilled out, calm and clear. "We are now joined. The ritual is complete." The hall went silent again, but this silence was different. It was heavy, final, as if something irreversible had been declared. The alien elders exchanged serious looks, nodding slowly. In their culture, those words were not just sentences. They were sacred. Spoken aloud, they meant a binding agreement stronger than any written law. The human was unaware, but to them, the device had just sealed a fate that could not be undone. The alien girl's chest rose and fell rapidly as she realized from the elders' expressions what had happened. Her eyes widened in horror. She had not said those words. She had not meant them. Yet the device, in front of everyone, had spoken them on her behalf. To deny it now would mean challenging the authority of her own people. To accept it meant surrendering something she had never been ready to give. Her fists trembled at her sides. The human saw her distress, but he was still lost in confusion, his mind spinning. He had come for peace talks, not this strange trap. The engineers whispered that maybe the device could be fixed, but the elders raised their hands and silenced them. "No," one of them said. "The words have been spoken. The bond is made." The human felt a cold chill race through his body. He did not fully understand what the elder meant, but he could feel the weight of the room pressing against him. The alien girl slowly turned toward him, her golden eyes filled with fury, shame, and something else he could not name. She whispered in her own tongue, her voice barely audible, and the device translated once more, its final cruel twist. "You will take my virginity, human? It is the law." The human's legs felt weak. He wanted to shout, to protest, to demand they listen, but his voice caught in his throat. The hall was silent again, every eye fixed on him. The device had made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but it had already changed everything. What had started as a simple test had turned into a disaster that no one in the room could escape from. The human could not sleep that night. The strange words from the device kept echoing in his head, twisting and replaying like a nightmare. He had said nothing wrong, yet the machine had turned his peace offering into a binding ritual. His heart pounded every time he remembered the elders' serious faces and the alien girl's sharp golden eyes staring at him as if he had ruined her life. He sat alone in his quarters, head in his hands, wondering how a simple meeting could turn into such chaos. The glowing device was supposed to be a bridge between worlds, but instead, it had created a wall of confusion and fear. On the other side of the compound, the alien girl was equally restless. She paced in her chamber, her long cloak brushing against the floor with every sharp turn. She knew the elders were already whispering among themselves, treating the device's twisted words as truth. To her people, words spoken by a divine-seeming machine were as good as a vow. It did not matter that she had never said those things. To them, she was bound, and the human was bound with her. Her cheeks burned with shame. She wanted to scream, to demand justice, but she also knew her voice might be ignored. By morning, rumors had already spread through the alien city. Crowds whispered in the markets, wondering why the human had been chosen so suddenly by the device. Some believed it was destiny. Others said it was corruption of their sacred traditions. A few even laughed, calling the human bold and reckless for making such claims. The human himself, unaware of the exact meaning behind the translation, walked through the corridors in confusion as people stared, whispered, and even bowed to him. He felt like a man walking blind in a storm, unable to see the danger but sensing it all around. The council called for another meeting, claiming they needed to clarify the misunderstanding. The human agreed, desperate to explain himself. The alien girl was there too, standing with her arms crossed tightly against her chest, her face pale but determined. The device was brought again, freshly repaired, glowing with renewed light. The engineers promised it would not fail this time, though their nervous eyes betrayed doubt. Everyone sat around the long table, tension thick in the air. The human leaned forward and spoke carefully. "What happened yesterday was a mistake. I did not mean to offend or to make any promise. I only said I came in peace." He kept his words simple, his voice steady. The device translated it into the alien language, and the elders listened. But when the alien girl replied, the trouble began again. Her voice was steady but sharp. She said, "I never gave consent to any ritual. I never agreed." But the device twisted her meaning, and what the human heard made his heart stop. The machine said, "I am ready to give myself to you." His eyes widened, his face turning red with shock. He shook his head quickly, waving his hands in panic. "No, no, that can't be what she said." But the elders leaned forward, whispering among themselves, nodding at the device's words. The alien girl's eyes narrowed. She could see the human's horrified expression and realized something was wrong again. She demanded to know what the device had said, but when the engineers whispered it to her, her face went pale with rage. She slammed her fist on the table, the sound echoing through the hall. "Lies!" she shouted in her language. But the device once again betrayed her, spitting out in English, "Take me now, human!" The room erupted into chaos. Some elders gasped in scandal, others smirked knowingly, while the younger attendants covered their mouths in shock. The human felt as if the floor had vanished under him. He stammered, trying to defend himself. "That's not what she means. The device is broken. Can't you see?" His voice grew louder, desperate, but the weight of the misunderstanding was too heavy. The alien girl turned toward him, her eyes blazing like fire. She shouted at the engineers, demanded they fix the cursed machine, but every word she spoke turned into something worse for the human. One moment it said, "He has touched me already." The next moment, "I cannot resist him." Each mistranslation poisoned the air further, creating an image that neither of them wanted. The human wanted to sink into the ground, and the girl wanted to destroy the device with her bare hands. The elders raised their hands, silencing the chaos. Their leader, an older alien with deep lines carved into his face, stood and said in a heavy voice, "The device does not lie. If it says these words, then perhaps it reveals truths your hearts are hiding." His words carried weight, and many nodded in agreement. The alien girl shook her head violently, tears burning at the corners of her eyes. "No, that is not my heart's truth," she screamed. But once again, the machine betrayed her, twisting her protest into, "Yes, I want him." The human's chest tightened, his fists clenched against the table. He wanted to destroy the device, to rip its glowing surface apart, but he knew that would only make things worse. The elders would see it as a human rejecting their sacred technology. The alien girl trembled, fury mixing with despair. She looked at the human, her gaze sharp enough to cut through steel. In that moment, he realized something important. They were both victims. It was not him against her. It was both of them against the cursed device and the misunderstanding it had created. He took a deep breath and forced himself to speak calmly. "Listen to me. She is not saying these things. I am not saying these things. Your machine is broken. Please, believe us, not it." His voice cracked at the end, but his eyes stayed firm. For a moment, silence filled the hall. The elders looked at one another, doubt flickering in their eyes. The engineers shuffled nervously, their hands twitching as if ready to run. But then the device lit up again on its own, without anyone speaking. Its voice echoed across the chamber. "The bond is sealed. The union is law." Gasps filled the room. The alien girl staggered back as if struck. The human felt the air leave his lungs. He had no idea what those words meant in their culture, but he could see the way the elders nodded gravely, the way their eyes softened with approval. Something irreversible had been declared once again, and this time it was worse than before. The alien girl's trembling hand reached for the edge of the table to steady herself. Her golden eyes shone with a mix of fear and fury. She whispered in her own language, her voice shaking, "You ruined me." And the device translated it into English as, "You own me." The human's stomach turned cold as the meaning hit him. The misunderstanding had reached a point beyond control, and there was no easy way back. The human walked nervously down the long, dim corridor, guided by two guards in dark armor. Their steps echoed against the stone walls, each sound pressing heavier on his chest. He had been summoned for a private meeting with the alien girl, the very one who had stood across from him yesterday when the device betrayed them both. His stomach twisted. He did not know if she wanted to accuse him, attack him, or find answers. All he knew was that she had asked for him personally, and the elders had agreed. The guards stopped at a heavy door carved with strange patterns. One of them pushed it open and gestured for him to step inside. The room was smaller than the great council chamber, but no less intimidating. Strange lanterns glowed with soft green light, casting shadows on the curved walls. In the center stood the alien girl, tall and graceful, her golden eyes locked on him as if she had been waiting. Her cloak shimmered faintly in the dim light, but her face looked tired, her lips pressed into a hard line. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, heavy and sharp, like a blade hanging over their heads. Finally, she broke it. "Do you even know what you've done?" she asked in her own language, her voice low and tense. The device hanging at her belt lit up, translating into English, "You forced me to give myself to you." The human's face burned red instantly. His hands shot up in defense. "No! That's not what I said. That's not what I ever wanted." His voice cracked with frustration. He pointed at the device. This thing, it's twisting everything. The alien girl's eyes narrowed, but there was confusion there too. She took a slow step toward him. Then tell me, she said in her language, her voice trembling slightly. What did you mean? What words did you really speak? The device hesitated, flickering uncertainly before speaking in English. I came to honor you. The human shook his head quickly. No, that's not it either. I only said I came in peace. Her lips parted slightly and she frowned. She could tell from his desperate tone that he was not lying. She pressed her hand against the device, trying to control it, but the machine hummed strangely, almost mocking her. Say it again, she demanded. Say it slowly. He nodded and repeated his words. I come in peace. The device buzzed, translated, and in her ears, she heard a phrase that made her eyes widen. I claim your purity. Her face flushed with rage. She struck the device hard with her fist, sparks jumping from its surface. The human stepped back, heart pounding. See? Do you see now? It's broken, he shouted. She stared at him, breathing hard, her golden eyes shining with anger and shame. For the first time, he saw something else there too, fear. Not of him, but of what her people would do if they believed the false words. She turned away, her cloak swirling behind her, and whispered to herself in her language, too soft for the device to catch. The human dared to step closer. Please, he said gently. You know the truth. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want this. She turned sharply, her eyes burning. Then why do the elders believe it? Why does the council nod when the device speaks? Her voice cracked with frustration. To them, it is sacred. To them, I have no choice now. To this, do you understand what that means for me? The human swallowed hard, his throat dry. He did not understand fully, but he could see the pain on her face. He lowered his voice. Then tell me. Help me understand. She stared at him for a long moment, searching his face, as if deciding whether to trust him. Then she stepped closer, so close he could see the faint glow of her skin beneath the lantern light. In our law, she said slowly, a vow spoken through the sacred tongue cannot be undone. The device was built on that ancient tongue. When it says the words, my people believe it is the truth of our souls. Her voice shook, and her fists tightened at her sides. It declared that I must give myself to you. Do you understand now? It says my purity no longer belongs to me. It belongs to you. The human felt his chest tighten like iron chains had wrapped around him. He shook his head fiercely. That's not right. That's not fair to you. Or to me. His voice rose with anger, but not at her. At the machine. At the elders. At the trap they were both caught in. He took a deep breath and forced his voice softer. I won't let them do this to you. I'll find a way to prove the device is wrong. Her eyes widened slightly, surprise flickering there. For the first time since the chaos began, she looked at him not as an enemy, but as someone standing beside her. But just as that fragile understanding began to form, the device suddenly lit up again on its own. Its mechanical voice cut through the silence like a knife. He accepts her body. He accepts the ritual. The alien girl gasped, stepping back as if struck. Her face went pale, her hands trembling. The human's jaw dropped. No, I didn't say that, he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. He rushed forward, grabbing the device and slamming it onto the table. Sparks flew, the lights flickered, and the machine hissed like it was alive. The alien girl's eyes widened as she saw his desperation, his refusal to let the lie stand. For a moment, there was silence again, broken only by their ragged breaths. She stared at him, her expression unreadable. Slowly, very slowly, her lips parted, and she whispered, If you fight this, you will be fighting my people. They will turn on you. Her golden eyes locked with his, sharp and searching. Are you willing to do that? For me? The human's heart thundered in his chest. He did not know why, but he nodded. Yes, he whispered firmly, because the truth matters. You matter. The device lay between them, sparking faintly, as if mocking their fragile trust. Both of them knew the danger was only beginning. But for the first time, they were no longer enemies caught in mistranslation. They were two souls trapped in the same storm, standing side by side against a fate neither of them had chosen. The council chamber was filled again, but this time the air was heavier than before. Everyone had gathered, elders in long robes, guards with sharp weapons, engineers standing nervously in the shadows, and the alien girl with her head held high, though her eyes burned with shame. The human stood beside her, still confused but determined not to let the machine twist his words again. The device sat on the center pedestal, glowing faintly as if it knew the chaos it had already caused. Everyone waited in silence. The elders wanted a final confirmation. They wanted to hear the device speak again, and whatever it said would become law. The human cleared his throat, trying to steady his voice. I want peace between us. I don't want harm. I don't want misunderstanding. He spoke slowly, carefully, hoping the device would finally work as it was meant to. The machine hummed, its glow rising, and the alien girl heard the words in her tongue. For a moment, her face softened. The translation was correct. She nodded slightly, relief flickering across her face. The hall relaxed. Maybe, just maybe, this nightmare was ending. But then one of the elders rose. His voice was deep and commanding. Let her speak the words of binding, he demanded. The alien girl froze. She knew what that meant. A phrase existed in her culture, ancient, dangerous, and sacred. If spoken, even by accident, it would seal a ritual no one could break. She opened her mouth to protest, but the elder cut her off sharply. The machine must confirm. If it is false, the truth will show. The human frowned, not understanding, but the alien girl's hands trembled at her sides. She had no choice. Slowly, she spoke in her language. There is no bond. Her voice was firm, steady, but the device flickered strangely. Sparks danced across its surface. Then it translated in English for the human. I give myself to him. The bond is made. The hall erupted in shouts. Elders slammed their staffs against the ground. Some cried out in approval, others in shock. The human's mouth dropped open, his heart hammering in his chest. He spun toward the engineers, shouting, That's not what she said. But they were pale, frozen in fear of the council. The alien girl's face drained of color. She shook her head wildly, tears burning in her eyes. No, that is not my word, she cried, her voice raw. But to the human, the device twisted it again. I accept him as my mate. The elders raised their hands, silencing the hall. Their leader stood slowly, his robe dragging across the floor. His voice boomed like thunder. It is done. The sacred phrase has been spoken. By law, by custom, she belongs to him now. The alien girl gasped, covering her mouth with trembling fingers. Her eyes locked on the human, filled with horror and helpless rage. The human staggered back as if the words had struck him physically. He had no idea what sacred phrase they were talking about, but he understood enough to know this was a trap closing tighter around both of them. One elder explained, his voice calm but sharp. Long ago, our ancestors made vows in the sacred tongue. If one spoke of giving their purity, the bond became eternal. No force, no denial could break it. To speak those words is to seal fate. He turned toward the human, his piercing eyes unblinking. You are bound now. She is yours, and you are hers. The human shook his head violently. No, that's not true. I never said that, and neither did she. Your machine is broken, don't you see? His voice cracked with desperation, but the elders only stared at him coldly. To them, there was no mistake. The device was sacred, beyond question. The alien girl's fists clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. She screamed at the council in her language, tears running down her cheeks. I never gave him anything. I never accepted him. But the cursed device betrayed her again, translating into English. I cannot resist him. He owns me. The human's stomach twisted. His body shook with rage and shame. He wanted to grab the device and smash it into pieces, but the guard's sharp weapons glinted in the corner of his eye. He forced himself to breathe, forced himself to stay standing. His voice dropped to a harsh whisper, trembling with anger. You're destroying her. You're destroying both of us with this lie. The alien girl turned to him, her golden eyes wet with tears, her lips trembling. For the first time, her anger softened. She saw his pain, saw his refusal, and it startled her. Maybe he was not her enemy after all. But the weight of the law was crushing them both. The elders gathered in a circle, whispering, their voices low but urgent. Finally, their leader raised his staff. Tonight, the ritual must be completed. If it is not, punishment will fall on both of you. The bond cannot be denied. His words echoed like a sentence of death. The alien girl gasped sharply, her body shaking. She whispered in her language, too soft to be heard, but the device caught it and whispered in English, "Save me." The human froze. His chest tightened, his breath caught. He saw her eyes, desperate and pleading, and he understood. She was trapped, terrified of what the law demanded. She needed him not to take what the council said was his, but to protect her from it. He nodded slowly, firmly, so only she could see. "I'll save you," he whispered under his breath. But the council did not hear that. They only saw two figures bound by a false ritual, one alien and one human, standing in the middle of a storm they did not choose. The device glowed faintly, as if it had won, but in the shadows of the hall, something else had begun, a fragile alliance between two unwilling victims who now shared the same fate. The hall was nearly empty when the human was led away by two guards. The words of the council still echoed in his ears, heavy like chains. Tonight, the ritual must be completed. He could not understand how everything had gone so wrong. He had come as a messenger of peace, not as someone bound in an ancient law. His steps felt heavy, his body weak, as if the very walls of the alien palace were pressing down on him. The guards left him in a chamber with a single glowing lamp and a hard stone bed. He sat there, running his hands through his hair, trying to breathe. He had never felt so trapped in his life. At the same time, the alien girl was in her own chamber. She sat on the floor, her knees pulled close to her chest, her golden eyes filled with fire and fear. She hated the device, hated the council, hated the cruel weight of tradition. But most of all, she hated how powerless she felt. She had trained all her life to be strong, to make her own choices, but now an error in translation had stolen her freedom. The whispers outside her chamber made it worse. Servants and guards were already speaking as if everything was settled. To them, it was not a tragedy, but fate. As the evening drew closer, she was brought to a private room. The walls glowed faintly, carved with strange symbols that shimmered like fire in the low light. This was a ritual chamber, one she had seen before only in stories and lessons. In her culture, once two people stepped inside, they could not leave until the vow was complete. Her chest tightened as she realized the council had already prepared everything, as if they never doubted the outcome. She clenched her fists, fighting back the tears. She would not let them see her break. The door opened again, and the human was pushed inside. The guards locked the heavy door behind him, and the sound of the bolt sliding into place echoed like thunder. He turned and saw her standing there, tense and furious, her golden eyes burning holes into him. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Neither spoke. The silence was filled with all the unspoken anger and fear between them. Finally, he broke it. His voice was low but firm. "I don't want this." She let out a bitter laugh, sharp and broken. "Do you think I do?" she snapped, her voice trembling with rage. "They will punish me if it is not done. Do you understand? My people will say I refuse the sacred vow. They will call me unclean. My family will be ruined." Her voice cracked at the last word, and she turned away, ashamed to show her weakness. The human's heart ached at her words. He stepped closer, though careful not to frighten her. "I don't want to hurt you," he said softly. "This is not your fault. It's not mine either. The machine twisted everything." His eyes burned with frustration as he looked around the chamber. Strange carvings glowed on the walls, symbols of binding and promise. He clenched his fists. "This is a prison dressed like a temple," he muttered. She turned back toward him, her golden eyes glistening. For the first time, her anger softened just a little. She studied his face carefully, searching for lies, but found only exhaustion and truth. "If you refuse," she whispered, "they will kill you. If I refuse, they will destroy me. Do you see the trap now?" His chest tightened. He had faced dangers before, but nothing like this. This was not a battle of swords or guns. This was a war of words, twisted by a cursed device and chained by tradition. He took a deep breath. "Then maybe," he said slowly, "the only way is not to fight each other, but to fight them." Her eyes widened slightly. "Fight the council?" she asked, almost in disbelief. He nodded firmly. "Yes. Show them the truth. Prove the machine is wrong. Or if we can't, then break the ritual another way." His words were reckless, dangerous, but they sparked something in her. For the first time since this nightmare began, she felt a flicker of hope. But before she could answer, the device on the pedestal lit up again. Its cold voice filled the chamber. "The time has come. The vow must be sealed." The girl flinched as if struck. She grabbed the device, slamming it against the floor, but it did not break. It only glowed brighter, repeating its command again and again. Her body shook with rage. "It is a liar!" she screamed at the walls. "It twists everything. Why can you not see?" Her voice cracked, and she sank to her knees, covering her face with her trembling hands. The human rushed to her side, kneeling beside her. He touched her shoulder gently, and she did not pull away this time. "We'll find a way out," he whispered. His voice was steady, filled with a strength he did not fully feel, but enough to give her something to hold on to. Slowly, she lowered her hands and looked at him. Her eyes were wet with tears, but there was fire there too. "If you mean that," she whispered, "then we are no longer strangers. We stand together now." He nodded, his jaw tight. Together. The device hummed louder, as if mocking them, and the walls glowed with the ancient symbols of binding. Outside, the council waited, certain the ritual would end as the law demanded. But inside, in that locked chamber, something else had begun. Two unwilling victims had made a choice, not to give in, not to bow to the lie, but to resist. They did not know how or if they would survive it, but in that moment, they shared something stronger than fear. The alien girl stood again, her hands no longer trembling. She faced the human, her golden eyes blazing with determination. "Then we will not let them decide for us," she said. The human met her gaze and felt his own strength return. The device flickered once more, speaking in its cruel voice. "The union is law." But neither of them listened. For the first time, the bond was not between her and the machine, or him and the council. It was between them, two souls who refused to surrender to a fate written by error. The night outside the palace was calm, but inside the ritual chamber, the air was heavy with tension. The glowing device sat in the middle of the room, its light pulsing like a heartbeat, as if it knew the fate it was forcing on them. The human stood tall, his fists clenched, while the alien girl paced back and forth like a caged animal. Every step she took was filled with anger, fear, and helplessness. The council's words from earlier echoed in her mind again and again. If the ritual is not completed, punishment will fall. She hated those words, hated the way they stole her freedom. She stopped suddenly, turning to face him. Her golden eyes burned in the dim light. "Do you even understand what happens if we refuse?" she asked in her language, her voice shaking. The device flickered and translated for him. "If you run, they will kill me." His stomach turned cold. He had expected something bad, but hearing it in such plain words crushed his heart. He stared at her, searching her face for truth, but the tears forming at the edges of her eyes told him everything. "They will call me impure," she continued bitterly. "They will strip my family of honor. They will send me away. I will be nothing." The device's voice echoed the translation into his ears, and he felt his fists tighten even more. This was no ritual. It was punishment disguised as tradition. He could see now that she was not just a victim of the device, but of her own people's cruel laws. He stepped closer, his voice low but firm. "Then we can't let them win." His eyes burned with determination. She shook her head sharply. "You don't understand. They are not like your people. Once they believe the vow is spoken, nothing can break it. To fight them is to fight the very roots of our law." The human's jaw tightened. "Then I'll fight the roots." His voice carried a stubborn strength that made her pause. She stared at him, her lips parted, as if she could not believe what she was hearing. No one in her world ever dared to say such words. To even think them was dangerous. And yet here stood this human, a stranger, ready to take on her entire culture for the sake of truth. The device suddenly glowed brighter, humming loudly, as if sensing their defiance. Its voice rang out cold and sharp. "The human accepts. The ritual is law. The purity must be taken." The alien girl gasped, stumbling back as if the words had slapped her. Her golden eyes filled with fire, and she shouted at the device, her voice breaking. "Liar! He said nothing!" But the cursed machine twisted her protest, and what the human heard made his blood freeze. "I am ready for him now." His chest tightened, and shame washed over him. He stepped forward quickly, raising his voice. "No! That's not what she said! Stop twisting her words." His shout echoed off the walls, but the device only hummed louder, repeating, "The time has come. The vow must be sealed." She turned toward him suddenly, her face filled with both fury and desperation. "Do you see now? There is no escape," she cried, her voice trembling. "If we resist, I am ruined. If we give in, I am ruined. They have trapped us in a cage with no doors." Her shoulders shook, her hands trembling at her sides. The human's heart pounded. He wanted to grab her, to protect her, to shield her from the crushing weight of her people's law. He took a deep breath and forced himself to stay calm. Then listen to me, he said softly. I won't let them take you like this. Not because of a mistake, not because of lies. We'll find another way. Her golden eyes locked with his, wide and uncertain. For the first time, he saw the wall of anger inside her crack, just a little. A spark of hope flickered in her gaze. Another way? She whispered, her voice barely audible. What way? He shook his head slowly. I don't know yet, but I swear I'll protect you, even if it costs me everything. His voice was steady, filled with a promise he had never expected to make. She stared at him for a long time, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Finally, she whispered, Why? Why would you risk yourself for me? He hesitated, searching for the right words. Because. He paused, then spoke firmly. Because this isn't just about you. It's about what's right. And I won't stand by and watch you be destroyed by a lie. Her lips trembled. For a moment, she looked like she might break down, but instead she straightened her shoulders, fire burning in her eyes again. Then if you fight, I will fight too, she said. Her voice grew stronger. We will not give them what they want. The device pulsed violently, its glow filling the chamber, its voice rising into a sharp command. Submit! Complete the ritual. Sparks flew from its surface, casting wild shadows across the walls. The human grabbed the machine and slammed it against the stone floor. It cracked, but did not shatter. Smoke hissed from its seams, but it still pulsed with stubborn light. The alien girl gasped, staring at him with wide eyes. You touched it, she whispered, shocked. That is forbidden. He looked back at her, his face fierce. So is forcing lies into your mouth. He raised his hand again, ready to smash it once more, but she grabbed his wrist. For a moment they stared at each other, their breaths heavy, the tension between them stronger than the glow of the machine. Wait, she whispered. If you destroy it now, they will say you feared the truth. They will punish us both without question. We must be clever. Her voice was urgent, her golden eyes intense. He lowered the device slowly, breathing hard. She was right. If they were to survive this, they needed more than anger. They needed proof, a way to show everyone the machine was a liar. Together. The chamber fell silent again, broken only by the weak hum of the damaged device. The human looked at her, his voice steady. Then tell me what to do. Tell me how to help you. For the first time, she gave him a faint, fragile nod. We will turn their law against them, she said softly. If they want a ritual, then we will give them one, but not the one they expect. Her lips curved into a determined line. The human nodded, his chest heavy but his heart steady. Outside, the council waited for the ritual to be completed. Inside, two unwilling strangers stood side by side, ready to defy an entire world. The device glowed faintly, its broken voice whispering one last time, the purity will be taken. But neither of them listened. They had already chosen a different path. The council chamber was filled with the sound of drums and low chants when the guards finally opened the ritual chamber. Elders and nobles gathered in their tall seats, expecting to see a ritual completed in silence and obedience. Torches lined the walls, their flames flickering against the carved stone symbols of union and vow. Everyone's eyes turned toward the heavy doors as they opened. The human walked out first, steady but tense, and the alien girl followed him, her head lifted high though her heart raced. The broken translation device was still in his hand, sparks dripping from its cracked surface. The hall went silent at the sight of them. The leader of the council rose, his long robe trailing behind him. His voice was sharp. The ritual, was it completed? His words hung in the air like a blade ready to fall. Everyone leaned forward, waiting. The alien girl's golden eyes blazed as she stepped forward. Yes, she said firmly in her language, her voice echoing across the hall. The device flickered in his hand, stuttering before it translated her words. The truth is complete. The elders frowned at the strange translation. Murmurs spread among the crowd. The human raised the cracked device high above his head. His voice was strong, cutting through the whispers. This machine is a liar. It twisted my words. It twisted her words. It tried to destroy us both. He slammed it onto the stone floor in front of the elders. The device sparked violently, its glow flickering like a dying star. The room gasped. To strike the sacred device was unthinkable. Guards moved forward, but the alien girl raised her hand sharply, stopping them. Listen to him, she cried, her voice trembling with passion. You call this device sacred, but it has betrayed me. It has spoken vows I never made. It has bound me to a human I did not choose. Do you call that truth?" Her voice cracked, but her golden eyes held steady, burning with defiance. The chamber was filled with murmurs again, some shocked, some uncertain. The elders shifted uncomfortably, for her words carried weight. She was not just anyone. She was a chosen speaker for her people. The leader narrowed his eyes. And yet the words were spoken. The vow is law. His voice was cold, final. But before he could speak further, the human stepped forward, his voice ringing loud and fierce. "Then your law is built on lies." His words echoed, his chest rising with every breath. "She never agreed to give herself to me. I never asked for her. If you want to punish someone, punish me, not her." The hall erupted into chaos. Elders shouted, guards tightened their grip on weapons, and whispers spread like fire through the crowd. No one had ever heard a human speak with such boldness against their ancient traditions. The alien girl stared at him in shock, her lips trembling. No one had ever stood for her like this. For a moment, her anger and fear melted into something else. Something deeper, something unspoken. The leader's face twisted with anger. He raised his staff high. "Silence him!" he thundered. Guards rushed forward, but before they could seize the human, the alien girl stepped in front of him, spreading her arms wide. Her voice shook the chamber. "If you touch him, you touch me. If you kill him, then you kill me too." The entire hall froze. Her golden eyes swept across the crowd. "You believe your law is sacred. Then hear me. I never spoke the sacred phrase. Your machine spoke it, not I. If your faith is in that machine, then your faith is in lies." The cracked device sparked on the floor as if mocking her, but then sputtered one last time. Its mechanical voice, distorted and broken, echoed across the hall. "Error, error, vow corrupted." The room went silent. Everyone stared in disbelief. For the first time, the sacred device had admitted failure. The elders' faces went pale, their confidence shaken. The human bent down, picked up the smoking device, and held it high. "There," he shouted, "your own machine proves the truth. There was no vow. There is no bond. Let her go." His voice boomed with raw determination, and the crowd began to murmur louder, some nodding, some questioning the council. The leader slammed his staff again, but his voice no longer carried the same strength. Doubt had entered the chamber, and it was spreading fast. One of the younger elders stood, her voice softer but firm. "Perhaps the human speaks truth. Perhaps the girl speaks truth. We cannot bind lives with broken words." Her statement was like a spark to dry wood. Others began to nod, voices rising in agreement. The alien girl's chest rose and fell sharply, her eyes wide with relief. She turned slowly toward the human, her lips parting, but no words came out. He looked back at her, his expression tired but firm, his hand still holding the shattered device. The leader's face twisted with fury, but he saw the tide turning. He lowered his staff with shaking hands. "Very well," he growled. "The bond is broken. But remember this. Human, your defiance will not be forgotten." His threat hung in the air, but the decision was made. The guards stepped back, and the chamber slowly filled with voices of shock, relief, and disbelief. The alien girl finally stepped closer to him, her golden eyes glistening. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. He shook his head softly. "No, we saved each other." For a moment, the weight of fear and shame lifted from her shoulders, replaced with something warmer, something fragile but strong. They walked out of the chamber side by side, the broken device left behind on the floor. The people watched them with wide eyes, some with awe, some with suspicion. But neither of them cared. What mattered was that the lie had been shattered, the ritual undone. As they stepped into the night air, the alien girl tilted her head toward him. "They will come for us again," she whispered. "The council will not forgive this." He looked at her, his jaw firm. "Then let them come. Together, we'll be ready." The stars above shone cold and bright, but inside both of them burned a fire that no translation device, no law, and no council could ever twist again.